At present, she is working as a senior consultant at KIMS Hospital, Trivandrum. Topic is hyperglycemia in pregnancy, recent concepts.
Respected chairs and dear friends and colleagues, let me my thanks to Dr. Jayashna and the KJK team for the invitation. And today's topic I'm going to present is paradigm shift in the management of hyperglycemia in pregnancy. Recently, I happened to hear a talk of Dr. Sheshaya from Chennai, Professor Sheshaya from Chennai. He was, all of you know how much he has done for diabetes in pregnancy, his research and whole work. Now he is giving stress to prevention of diabetes in the population. How we can prevent diabetes as such. And he said it is a responsibility of the obstetricians. So I thought to look into this and convey whatever I heard, I would like to pass on to you also. It is a new concept. So the things I want to points to be discussed is, why do we want a new change in the management of hyperglycemia in pregnancy? And can we prevent transgenerational transmission of diabetes mellitus? And if so, whom should we target and how to achieve it? And is there a need for re-evaluation of the investigations and management of diabetes in pregnancy? As you know, diabetes is a major public health problem worldwide, not only in India being the capital of India, capital of diabetes. We see the prevalence in India is 24.5%. Previously, we thought that it is a disease of the rich upper class society, but you see almost equal incidence in both urban and rural areas. In parallel to the increase in diabetes, there is a increase in the incidence of GDM is also on the rise, and the global incidence of GDM is about more than 20 million. And now the new term for GDM or the hyperglycemia is a newer term is hyperglycemia in pregnancy. That is, it includes gestational diabetes, pre-existing diabetes, and over diabetes detected for the first time in pregnancy. So everything together is called as hyperglycemia in pregnancy. And you know the definition of GDM is defined as any degree of glucose intolerance with onset or first recognition during pregnancy. And again, there is GDM is divided into two. Early GDM we call as eGDM, which is detected before 20 weeks of pregnancy. And conventional GDM, as we always used to do GDM investigation at 20-24 weeks, thinking that that is the time when there is maximum human percentage lactogen and the test will be positive. So we delay testing for GDM up to 20 to 24 weeks. So when you detect it after 20 weeks, you call it as conventional GDM. And this CGDM is a mild degree of hyperglycemia, not satisfying criteria for over diabetes or pre-diabetes. This only mild hyperglycemia can detect. And always risk factors for an advanced maternal age, increased BMI, previous history, GDM, family history, everything is applicable to early GDM, not for late GDM. So if you have got a family history like this, you should investigate the patient in the first trimester itself. That is the point I want to convey. And this early GDM is associated with all the complications we come across in diabetic mothers. There is more need for induction, more need for cesarean section, hyperinsulinemia, macrosomia, shoulder dystocia, neonatal hyperglycemia. All problems are more seen in early GDM than late conventional GDM. So the concern with hyperglycemia in pregnancy is not only we are bothered about the maternal complications like hyperamnios, preterm labor, premature rupture of membranes, preeclampsia, baby's problems. All this is not, but we are more concerned about the metabolic syndrome. That is a risk of metabolic syndrome in the mother and also the baby. That should be more our concern. And the diabetes is the mother of non-communicable disease. That is the most important thing. So you have to follow up these patients and throughout and detect and treat them. So early detection and management of hyperglycemia in pregnancy is mandatory. For that, you should know how diabetes develops. How diabetes develops. Going into the embryology, it can be, is it intrauterine environment that is responsible, if it is inherited destiny, or it is a genetic factor, or it is a combination of all these things. And intrauterine environment, when you consider intrauterine environment, the offspring who were in utero, when their mother had GDM, have a greater risk of developing diabetes than elder siblings born before the mother developed GDM. So the mother is GDM and intrauterine baby is definitely affected. So intrauterine environment is very, very important. And all of you know the David Barker's hypothesis, and individual susceptibility to developing disease in adulthood had already been programmed while she or she is still in utero. So intrauterine programming is very, very important. And it is not only the physical health, the equally important is the mental health also. The thought process, emotional feelings, the mental attitude, everything affects the fetus in utero. I think you might have heard the story of Abhimanyu, how he is trapped in the Chakravyuham during Mahabharata war. He only heard the first half of the story, the second half, how to escape from it, his mother slept. So that's till then, this goes back to that. Then comes developmental origin. Is it developmental origin? And during fertilization, there is only the nucleus of the spermatozoa has enters the ovum. No cytoplasm, no mitochondria, nothing is from the paternal side. All the cytoplasm, mitochondria, and the mitochondrial DNA are exclusively maternally inherited. So this transgenerational transmission of the disease is primarily from the mother, especially diabetes. That is where the obstetrician is supposed to be responsible. So during intrauterine life with diabetic mother, GDM mother, baby may be low birth weight baby or it may be LGA baby, and these babies in adult life, they are more risk for obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease. So the intergenerational transfer of the risk is there. So when the offspring is a girl, there is a more chance of transgenerational transmission of diabetes mellitus because it is always transmitted. Sorry. So this transgenerational transmission is the cause for the increasing incidence of diabetes mellitus. So Dr. Professor was insisting on. We should prevent this transgenerational transmission of diabetes. And like Ms. Kingan has said that hence female gender is the key to diabetic prevention. So you have to take care of the female gender, especially during pregnancy if you want to prevent diabetes. So genetics, epigenetics, and environment all play a significant role in the developmental origin of the disease. A susceptible individual might inherit unfavorable gene from his or her parents. And this gene might undergo adverse epigenetic influence in utero. And after delivery, he or she may be exposed to unhealthy environment in his childhood and adulthood. So everything plays an important role. The genes load the gun and the environment pulls the trigger. So it starts from there. So the questions to be answered are, is it possible to achieve diabetic-free generation? If so, who to focus on and how to achieve it? So we go to the level of prevention. You know the 4 levels of prevention: primordial prevention, primary, secondary, and tertiary. When you come to primordial prevention, here we are underlying the conditions leading to the causation. What causes this disease? That is when you have to treat that. That is the level of prevention, the phase of the disease. And total population or selected groups you can do. When you come to primary prevention, you are sexual causative factors treated. So what we want to do to prevent diabetes in the generation is primordial prevention. So what is needed is primordial prevention. That is, you have to find out the factors that are leading to the causation of diabetes. And the disease should not develop. That should be our idea. The baby should never become hyperuremic, or the mother should never develop diabetes during pregnancy. And the female gender is the key to diabetic prevention. For that, you should know some embryology of beta cell development. The pancreas begins to, beta cells develops in the pancreas around about the 4th week of intrauterine life. And first insulin deposit starts in 7th to 8th week. And pancreatic islets differentiate between 10th to 11th week of pregnancy. And each islet functions as an endocrine organ. The beta cells recognize and respond to maternal glucose from 11th week of gestation. This 11th week is very, very important, and start producing insulin. So this is a pattern of glycemia in normal pregnancy. You can see the fasting blood sugar is about 71 plus or minus 8. 1 hour 109 plus or minus 3, that is about 120 milligram per deciliter, and 2 hours it is less than 110 milligram. So based on the pattern of glycemia in normal pregnancy, if the 2-hour postprandial blood sugar at 10 week is more than 110 milligram per deciliter, it predicts DDM. This is a very, very important statement. So 2-hour PPBS at 10th week of gestation, more than 110 milligram predicts DDM, and the maternal glucose is high, postprandial glucose more than high, the fetal hyperinsulinemia occurs. So when the baby is exposed to this more than PPBS 110 milligram intrauterine life, the fetal pancreas start producing insulin, and hyperinsulinemia occurs. And fetal hyperinsulinemia causes influx of glucose to the fetus even if the maternal glucose is normal. So that is, you are going to miss the diagnosis when you do the routine test. So whenever there is hyperinsulinemia, the baby, that causes influx of glucose to the fetus, even if the maternal glucose is normal. So it is that the maternal hyperglycemia pushes the glucose, and fetal hyperinsulinemia pulls the glucose. So the maternal blood sugar may become normal even if there is a fetal hyperinsulinemia. And maternal glucose does not go up due to fetal insulin handling. Maternal glucose is deceptive. Okay? And the excess glucose is dispersed fast in the fetal tissue, and the glucose gradient is maintained and causes macrosomia. This phenomenon is known as fetal glucose steal. Fetal handling of maternal glucose occurs through the placenta to the fetus. This fetal glucose steal is gestation the pregnancies is lesser known in GDM. We don't know in GDM what about the fetal glucose steal occurs. An exaggerated glucose steal by the hyperinsulinic fetus could also attenuate maternal glucose levels. So when you do a OGTT, elucidate some mothers will affected fetus have a normal glucose tolerance. Because previously when we used to say that the ultrasound evidence of hyperdiabetes, even if the baby's blood sugar is normal, the baby may be large age baby, or there can be hydramnios. So all these states that the baby is still hyperinsulinemic even though the blood sugar is normal. And this might explain the LGA and polyhydramnios in euglycemic mothers. So don't go by that this insulin is normal, but the baby is still affected. So coming to the fetal handling of maternal glucose, just for information, suppose you do a PPBS at 10th week of pregnancy, the postprandial blood sugar is 126 milligram. We are not doing anything. You repeat the sugar at 12th week, it comes to 112. So PPBS comes down without any intervention. We are not giving any medicine, no restriction, nothing. Still the glucose is 110. And this is because 11th week, the secretion of fetal insulin starts. Fetal starts producing insulin, and this brings down the maternal glucose. And if you wait for routine screening at 24th or 28th week or a 20th week, you may miss the diagnosis. So that highlights importance of doing PPBS in the first trimester itself. And then there is a phenomenon of anticipation. What is the ideal time to check for glucose tolerance during pregnancy? It is said that it is 8th week. If you do at 8th week and if the PPBS is high, you have to treat it. Why? Traditional GDM is 2-hour PPBS at more than 110 milligram at 10th week. As I told you, at 10th week, the PPBS of the mother should be less than 110 milligram. If it is more than 110 milligram, the baby will start producing, baby will start producing insulin, and baby will become hyperinsulinic. Because at 8 weeks if you do, If the PPBS is less than 110 milligram, we repeat it 10th week and manage accordingly. If the 8 weeks of PPBS is more than 110 milligram, better to start, or we have to start the patient on MNT or metformin to bring down the sugar to less than 110 milligram per deciliter, so that fetal hyperinsulinemia never develops. We should not allow the baby to become hyperinsulinic, because at 10th week, if PPB is more than 110 milligram, there is no grace period to treat it. That is why that is 2 weeks anticipation. You have to do it at 8 week. If it is more, start treatment. If you are starting at investigating at 10th week, there is no actual time to treat it. Because once the baby fetus become hyperinsulinic, it remains throughout pregnancy hyperinsulinemic. It will be going on in influencing the problems. So maternal hyperglycemia and febrile hyperglycemia promote fetal adiposity, and the male offsprings of these were obesity, IGT and diabetes, whereas female offspring will be going for obesity, GDM and diabetes. Okay. Coming to the management of hyperglycemia in pregnancy, the aim is to maintain maternal 2-hour plasma glucose 99 plus or minus 10 milligram throughout pregnancy from conception to confinement. So it should be maintained like that. And this prevents the transgenerational transmission of diabetes. I told you how it passes on to the female baby, from the female baby to next generation, like that. Many recent studies have shown that benefit of early detection and management of GDM. Hence, screening is recommended 8 to 10 weeks. If 2-hour PPBS is more than 110 milligrams, start on MNT or metformin if needed, and continue throughout pregnancy. That is the new concept I got from his talk. So I thought I will share with you all. I know many of you may be knowing it, but I was unaware of it that time. So I thought it is better to share. So certain practical points. Pre-pregnancy planning is ideal, as I will always say. Prediction of GDM is 2-hour PPBS more than 110 milligram at 10th week of pregnancy. Hyperglycemia in pregnancy can be prevented by targeting pregnant mothers at early weeks of pregnancy, that is about 8th week. Once the baby is hyperinsulinic, it remains so throughout and in spite of glycemic control of the mother. So the idea is you should not make the fetus hyperinsulinic. Okay. Preventive action must be taken at 8 weeks so that maternal PPBS remain less than 10 milligram and throughout pregnancy. GDM diagnosis and treatment after 12 weeks will control the glycemic level, but it cannot prevent the adverse effects of fetal hyperinsulinemia. Mother's pressure may be normal, but the baby continues to be hyperinsulinic. Hence, it is necessary to optimize metabolic control early in pregnancy. MNT plus metformin, if required, should be continued throughout pregnancy. These are the references, and thank you for the patient hearing.